Possessed by the souls of villains, the animatronics lure random strangers into the abandoned Willy Wonderland entertainment center to take advantage of their victims' helplessness and quench their thirst for blood. We'll talk about the mistakes made, the desperate situations you'll find yourself in, and why you won't survive against the killer animatronics in Willy's Wonderland. A silent drifter accidentally hits road spikes and gets stuck on a country road near the town of Hayesville, Nevada. It is not until evening that a mechanic named Jed Love arrives on the road and helps the unnamed man tow the car to an auto repair shop. Along the way, they meet Sheriff Eloise Lund. She makes it clear that the spikes really belong to her, but they ended up on the road due to hooligans who stole them and left them on the road for a joke. In fact, everything that is now happening to the tramp is a planned trap. As soon as the unsuspecting man finds himself on a country road, he moves toward Hayesville, where the locals are already waiting for him in advance. Some of them, including the sheriff, are interested in luring random strangers into an abandoned amusement center populated by killer animatronics without arousing suspicion. They are out for blood, and to contain them inside the abandoned center, the locals have to trap the strangers. Everything around here just wants you dead. The spikes are needed so that the victim can no longer get out with his car, and mechanic, under the guise of helping, is just fulfilling part of a devious plan. For added credibility with the victim, the sheriff confirms that the spikes belong to her. This reduces any suspicion of possible danger. Who would think a law enforcement officer would be involved in the mysterious disappearances that occur here? At this stage, the victim is incapable of suspecting anything because everyone around them is involved in a malicious plan. Right now, there is no way to assess the motives and actions of those around them, which puts the random stranger in a vulnerable position. The atmosphere in the machine shop changes dramatically. There are posters of missing persons on the wall. There is no internet in the neighborhood, ATMs do not work, all transactions are in cash and therefore untraceable. At the same time, the victim pays no attention to anything and agrees to the dubious venture without asking too many questions in order to pay for the car repairs in cash. This is the perfect set of circumstances for kidnappers. If you ignore the threat signs as much as possible and don't ask why people are disappearing here, the person will most likely end up inside the entertainment center and may never get out of there again. At the entrance to the ill-fated entertainment center, the vagrant is met by the owner named Tex McAdoo. He promises that in the morning, when the man has cleaned up the entire building, a car will be waiting for him, safe and sound. Meanwhile, a group of teenagers are not content to stand idly by while the townsfolk lure innocent strangers into a trap. They are determined to put an end to the ultimate evil from Willy Wonderland once and for all. Despite their determination, almost every plan they make turns out to be a failure. The leader of the group is Liv, who begins to take risks from the very beginning. She single-handedly attempts to burn down the amusement center with gasoline and a lighter, but all is undone when she is spotted by Eloise and handcuffed to a chimney. If not for the sheriff's intervention, things could have ended more sadly. Approaching the building alone with bad intentions for animatronics is fraught with deadly consequences. They have repeatedly left the walls of the abandoned center, so hoping that the sadists will stay inside and not take action would be extremely naive. Moreover, Liv risks endangering the rest of the town if the animatronics survive. Arson could provoke the killers into more aggressive behavior, which would have the effect of increasing the number of casualties among innocent townspeople. It is important to consider all possible risks and choose a safer and more strategic approach to this threat, or everyone will die. Liv's team comes to the rescue. The only thing they're good at is getting their leader out. Now the teens are going to take down the animatronics. They know the deadly danger, but they still want to tackle the animatronic killer robots without a clear plan or any convincing weapons. What's more, if there are constant disagreements within your team, prepare for trouble. Teenagers are all about disunity, treating everything that happens as entertainment and believing they are doing the right thing. Under these circumstances, it is very important to create strong cooperation and remind of responsibility so that the team can effectively deal with the coming threat. Otherwise, the group has no chance of dealing with the animatronics. Meanwhile, Nameless begins his cleanup until he meets Ozzy Ostrich. Animatronics, despite their impressive size and a lot of mechanisms hidden under massive bodies, do not create much noise. We are dealing with large-sized robots that can take a life in a matter of seconds. This fact creates a huge number of difficulties and greatly reduces the chances of survival. Detecting a robot in advance is extremely difficult. Animatronics skillfully take advantage of their silence, taking their victims by surprise when they least expect a threat. In a confined, poorly lit room, it's important to know where the enemy may be waiting. Especially when it comes to deadly structures that move quite quickly and, thanks to their chaotic, unpredictable movements, make it difficult to anticipate further actions. The intentions of the moving mechanism remain unclear until the very end, which eliminates any possibility of getting out of the mess in one piece. For example, the victim may think that he or she is looking at an ordinary toy for children's entertainment. They can cause awe and a slight fright, but the last thing you think about is the deadly threat coming from animatronics. After all, couldn't the engineers have created something that could harm a child? Rational thinking will lead you to your doom. The janitor was fortunate, the other animatronics didn't attack him, and the ostrich's strike was tangential, not seriously harming the man. On top of that, the victim is trapped within the four walls of a small diner, and the windows leading to the street are blocked. I realize that it's actually the animatronics that are locked in with the janitor, but things are much worse for the average person. A massive lock and a thick chain, for the average person, would be a serious obstacle. It will be extremely difficult to break down the door without physical injury, even with the use of improvised tools. In addition, with these actions, you will create a lot of noise, thereby provoking the other robots to go into hunting mode. Do not forget that animatronics navigate in the abandoned entertainment center much better than a person who was not lucky enough to be here for the first time. Terrifying machines are thirsty for blood, they are able to have a psychological effect on the unprepared victim, creating a feeling of constant discomfort. In critical situations, a person driven by panic is prone to make mistakes, which sooner or later will lead to death. The janitor has compiled a whole set of mistakes that we normal humans should avoid at all costs. Ignoring the threat of animated creatures, being trapped in a cramped room and focusing on cleaning is not a good idea. Thoughts and actions should be occupied with things that will increase the chances of surviving the terrible night. Arm yourself, explore the building for inconvenient dead ends, find gaps and poorly boarded up windows. With so many killers in one room, the victim will sooner or later drive himself into a corner from which he will not be able to get out alive. Knowledge and tools will be of some help in this case. In addition, cleaning takes up too much of the victim's attention, which, coupled with the silent nature of the robots, makes the victim particularly vulnerable to the enemy's sneak attacks. The large gorilla jumps out at the janitor at the moment when he is at his most vulnerable. Using extreme cunning and ingenuity, the animatronic traps its victim in the cramped confines of a toilet stall. This is where you will probably die. The janitor did not prepare for the fight properly, so he has to fight with his bare hands. It's impossible to do serious damage without having tools at hand. First of all, it's a mechanism. Second, all of the animatronic's important organs are hidden behind thick synthetic fur. You are more likely to injure your hands and not damage the gorilla. Loss of limb functionality when you're trapped in an entertainment center crawling with maniacs means death, no exceptions. Gorilla Gus patiently waited for the right moment to attack and did not give himself away until the human was in an awkward defensive situation. The animatronic's ability to act silently will be a serious test for the victim. The janitor emerges victorious and protects his torso with duct tape, having clearly come to some conclusions after a serious fight with a deadly robot. This is the right decision, and it greatly increases the chances of survival. Such armor will negate minor cuts and scratches, reducing the likelihood of losing a lot of blood in the process of battle. At the same time, however, it was worth protecting not only the body, but also the hands, which the janitor uses as his main weapon, completely ignoring the objects around him, which can be used for defense. Before burning down a building infested with animatronics, a group of teenagers come to the logical decision to help a man trapped in a building. However, their further actions increase the likelihood of death not only for the janitor, but also for themselves. For some unknown reason, Liv goes to the restaurant building alone, although the teens were well aware of the threat. Not only that, the girl gets inside through the ventilation shaft, thus trapping herself in a tight space. She had nothing on her person to protect her in the event of the sudden appearance of a killer animatronic. These factors greatly reduced the chances of the deadly plan succeeding. The guys outside, instead of thinking of a clear plan of action, found the worst possible time to quarrel, depriving themselves of focus. They were not bothered by the fact that their friend went to the den of maniacs and she will surely need help. The conflict escalates until the guys accidentally break through the dilapidated roof of the establishment. As a result of a series of stupid actions, the group falls inside the building, finding themselves trapped. At the moment of falling, one of them could, for example, twist a leg or break ribs, guaranteeing a fatal outcome in the first collision with the robots. When surviving in such a situation, do not, under any circumstances, settle relationships with your fellow survivors, leave any conflicts that may arise until you are in a safe, secure environment. You are guaranteed not to survive if you accidentally find yourself in an entertainment center, abandon your team, knowing about the horrors going on there, and decide to have fun, completely disregarding the threats. That's exactly what Bob and Katie decide to do. They distance themselves from the rest of the group, turn their backs on the animatronics and seclude themselves in a dark room. The couple have fun and completely ignore Artie Alligator. Bob assures Kathy that the animatronic was there from the beginning, dooming himself and his lover to death, although the whole group realized that there were living killer robots inside. Nevertheless, that didn't alarm anyone. The alligator makes an attack and destroys the couple in a matter of seconds. The animatronic Willy Weasel starts on stage and gets the attention of everyone except the janitor. Everyone completely turns their attention to Willy without looking back, which is obviously a huge mistake leading to death. It's no surprise that one of the band members is fatally wounded right in the back. A sudden attack by an animatronic forces all team members to scatter at Liv's command, negatively affecting their ability to defend themselves. By her actions, Liv makes everyone on her team even more vulnerable, thus making the animatronic's entire job easier. The team is repeatedly proven to fail in critical situations. None of the teens were as familiar with the entertainment center as the animatronics. Liv also didn't know if there was a way out, and didn't consider the emotional stress of her team caused by the death of a friend. She clearly overlooked many aspects, and it is the wrong decision of the person you trusted with your life that will lead to your death. Chris, meanwhile, is hiding from Cammy Chameleon, who, manipulating the teenager's fragile mind, convinces him that she herself is locked up with hideous villains and wishes no harm to anyone. The boy gives into the ruse and comes out of his hiding place. Cammy suddenly wraps her long tongue around Chris and twists his neck. Possessed robots will use every available means to get to their victim. If the animatronics lose sight of you, they will start using persuasion to lure you out of hiding. If you, like the janitor, deal with animatronics with your bare hands, feeling your superiority and being confident in your abilities, you are in for an unpleasant surprise. Local law enforcement agencies are well aware of what is going on inside the walls of the building, and, on the contrary, not only do not prevent deaths, but also in every possible way contribute to their occurrence. If you resist too much, you will only be handcuffed and left to die. Sheriff Eloise Lund is able to convince even the most stubborn to leave their people to the robots. She tells those who disagree with her that the animatronics will get to their loved ones, thus swaying them to her side. This greatly reduces your chances of survival, because everyone around you will contribute to your inevitable death. Iliosa instructs her partner to take Liv to safety, but on the way they have an argument during which Tito Turtle suddenly kills a policeman. Liv aims a shotgun at the maniac, but the animatronic has taken the ammunition. The girl beats him with the gun, but for some reason does not finish him off, leaving him a chance for revenge. Moreover, she had dropped the shotgun, though she could have just taken the ammo instead and finished the creature for sure. Liv had just deprived herself of a perfectly good weapon, reducing her chances. The janitor clears most of the building by this point and tackles almost all of the animatronics except for the final boss. Eloise is not satisfied with this state of affairs, so she decides to help the last surviving animatronic, Willy Weasel, to finish the man off. She had no idea that Willy had decided to cut off all arrangements after the tramp had dismantled the main animatronic's accomplices for scrap metal. If you, like the citizens of the town of Hayesville, have decided to make a deal with animatronics possessing the souls of bloodthirsty killers and continue to live your life as if nothing happened, you risk being killed any day now. Willy effortlessly split the sheriff in half. The fight with the most important animatronic will be a really serious challenge. He uses his sharp claws, attacks suddenly and acts very quickly, which makes him a very dangerous opponent who has a clear advantage over humans. However, the janitor defeats Willy and on the morning Tex McAdoo as promised leaves the whole and unharmed car at the entrance to the center. Tramp and Liv head away from the cursed amusement center, knocking down the last animatronic on the way. Tex McAdoo and the mechanic are surprised to discover a surviving siren Sarah, who blows up the machine along with herself. One of the features of animatronics is that they freely mask any signs of life. That's why some of them can stay alive provided you don't finish the job to the end. In this case, there is a risk that the animatronics will track you down and, given your strength, try to avenge themselves and their accomplices. If you find yourself on an ill-fated country road and hit road spikes, it is from that moment on that you become the victim of an insidious plan. Each supposedly random encounter will gradually lead you to Willy's Wonderland, where killer animatronics will do anything to quench their thirst for blood.